Hey guys, today I want to talk to you a little bit about corporation taxes and why raising them is a bad idea for people who are on low to medium income, people who are on benefits, and generally business owners in general. So if you like the video, please feel free to leave a comment, let me know what you think. I'm always open to discussion, so if you leave a comment I'll try and get back to you. You can also hit the like button or the dislike button if you don't like it, and hit the subscribe and notification bells. Anyway, so here we go. Corporation tax. Why is it bad for people who are on low to medium income? I mean, a lot of the time when people hear the words corporation tax, they think this is going to be a tax on business, and business is business is not a person. You can't put a face to it, so you think it's not so bad. It's not so bad. You're not going to be affecting anyone like that. Well, you're wrong. The fact of the matter is the businesses are owned by business owners, and on top of that there are other ways in which businesses are being taxed as well. So you've got, for example, taxes on transactions, so for example VAT. You've got taxes on products, so for example you've got increased taxes. You can have increased taxes on alcohol, tobacco, on sugar. You've got sugar tax came in the UK, which is incredibly bad, and then what people want is they want to apply corporation tax. Now, so you've got to think, what is corporation tax? It's a tax on business profits. So when the business makes a certain amount of profit within a year, it gets a little bit of that skimmed off in corporation tax. And when that corporation tax is quite high, it does have a detrimental effect on business. For example, if we go to look at, for example, 2017 United States, there was a reduction of the corporation tax, I believe, to 21%. That's according to the Bureau of Labour Statistics, there was a 3.1% increase across board in terms of average income increases. That is increases above the minimum wage, and for people who are on really low wages, that was going up to 7% increase in pay, because businesses were able to pay people more money. Because when a business has got the money to spend on training, employment and everything else, it can then use that to grow and to make itself more powerful. However, businesses which do not have a reliable income stream, they can potentially get hit quite hard by corporation tax. So you're thinking about things like corner shops for like small firms. I mean, my small marketing business is going to get hit by corporation tax soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, we've got a whole load more problems that are going to be coming around due to problems within the UK taxation system, which I'm looking forward to soon. So basically, corporation tax is something we want to avoid, because the fact of the matter is, at the moment we're living in a society in the United Kingdom where everyone is kind of forced into a position where they are working for the minimum wage. A huge amount of people are working for the minimum wage, and it's been renamed the national living wage in order to make people feel a little bit better and a bit more comfortable about it, even though it's completely different from the actual living wage, which is registered by the Living Wage Foundation. So you've got a huge amount of stuff which is going on here, which is basically keeping people suppressed. And actually increasing corporation tax does do that, because it stops businesses saying, well, we've got a lot of money to spend, we can afford to spend things on increasing wages, we can make, and the businesses want to increase wages, because the thing is, when they take a new staff member on board, and they train that person up, that training costs time and money. And also, when people get to know the job and they know it really well, and they can be an effective member of an employee, you're going to, they want to keep that employee by promoting them, by increasing their wages, by giving them incentives to stay and work with the company. But what actually happens at the moment is they get a huge chunk of their profits taken, and when you've got like a small business and they are getting corporation tax, it is stopping them from paying and having investments to put into, maybe, for example, advertising. And yes, advertising can be written off as a business expense. Employee wages can be written off as a business expense. But if there is no gap of protection that your company has got in an unreliable economy which can change via the day, you're in a serious situation where you're going to be struggling. So when you're thinking about corporation tax, a higher corporation tax is going to negatively impact on people who are earning low wages, because it's going to reduce their ability to actually persuade their employer, hey, I'm worth this extra amount of money, because they'll be thinking, oh God, I've got to deal with these taxes. So having a high corporation tax, say 20% is a high corporation tax, it is hugely problematic, and increasing it can make things really bad, to the point where employers will think about corporate inversion. Now, corporate inversion is a status which you should definitely look up. I'll put a little link in the information section, or rather the comments box. Basically, corporate inversion is when a big company moves out of a country and moves to another base of operations where things are cheaper, so they no longer have to pay huge amounts of money. One of the things which has interested me in my time in business in the UK is that I've noticed that it's very, very hard to sell advertising in the UK to people. So I just gave up. I thought, I'm not going to be able to sell advertising in the UK. So what I did is I started selling it over in America. The thing is, I had to look at the situation that I was in. So, for example, business owners in the United Kingdom, they want to see good return on investment, they want to see a lot of different things, and they want to be very, very stingy with money. Whereas the Americans will trust in what I can do in terms of the skills which I've got to sell a product, and they will say, okay, what do you need for an advertising budget? And they will make sure that that gets supplied. Or they will work with me to come up with something which benefits us both to the point where it is worth it for both parties, whereas advertising in the UK just generally isn't worth it for me, at least in my experience. But when it comes to things like corporation tax and improvements, I want to expand my business, and I'm a single business owner, so I'm on my own. I have no partners at all. I have a couple of people who I work with, but I can't actually expand my corporation very easily, because whenever I make a profit at the end of the month, I've got an unreliable source of income, because people who are getting website services 1 month, or getting web design another month, or having a marketing campaigns for say 6 months, these things will come to an end and people will say, oh well, we can't cope with things, and it's like you've got all of these different problems. And then when I look at my profits, I do not have a reliable profit margin with which I can say I can reliably hire a new employee. So I've got to come up with alternative ways of dealing with this. Now, this doesn't just affect me; it affects other people. Now, if I didn't have a corporation tax along with the minimum wage and along with all of the other problems which get in the way for a business owner in the United Kingdom, there would be a possibility for me to train people and teach them how to do what I do so that they can go out and do another job. So I would have the time to do that, and the energy and the inclination, because I'd want people to come in and work with me. But for example, corporation tax, which is where I should stay for this conversation, is one of the big things which is hugely problematic for businesses, especially when businesses are paying this as a chunk at the end of the year, and they are hit by something like, for example, coronavirus, which is causing a huge devastating effect to businesses all over. So how does corporation tax affect businesses as well? I mean, if we're looking at restaurants, who I mainly work with restaurants, when you have corporation tax, you've got to take into account that is a chunk of profit that is being taken away at the end. So basically, when that's increased, restaurants, for example, are going to be mitigating that extra amount of loss. So when they've got a deficit going out and they're losing money, they're going to be trying to put in things to mitigate that. So for example, the higher quality ingredients that you would normally have are going to reduce in quality. You're going to get smaller portions when you go to restaurants. You're going to get less nut. You're going to have less. The quality of your experience is going to be less. You're going to have, for example, with the packages, if we're talking digital marketing, we're going to have to reduce the packages to make things worthwhile so that we can make enough profit in order to actually get over the rung. Now, a lot of people will think, well, this will affect companies like Amazon, and it'll affect companies like Tesco, it'll affect companies like Asda, you know, Sainsbury's, all these other things, and they generally think that they're the ones that are getting hit by this. But it's actually the really small businesses. It's like the corner shops, the post offices, every single business owner who's running it, the electricians, the plumbers, all these other people. And the fact of the matter is, they're all having to alter their prices in order to try and make sure that they can make enough profit to get by. And profit is where it's at. The fact of the matter is, everyone wants to expand their business, everyone wants to make more money. And the more emphasis that we're putting into increasing the more we're forced into putting things into place to increase our income, the more we're actually contributing to inflation. Because when you've got shops that are boosting up their prices in order to handle things like the minimum wage, they're also boosting the prices to handle things like corporation tax and taxes on the rich, and I'm going to be doing a video on that shortly. So basically the fact of the matter is, every time the corporation tax goes up in this country, or if it does go up in this country, should I say, it is going to cause catastrophic damages to people who are on low income, because the prices of everything is going to rise. this is going to be really, really bad, because then people will expect the minimum wage to be risen in order to work with this. Business owners will no longer be able to afford that. It creates an economy where the small businesses are being strangled really, really badly, and it's basically holding a gun to the head of people and saying you got to pay even though you're suffering. And it's really, really bad, because it really stops small businesses expanding. And if you are someone who works for a small business, even if you work for a big company, you're going to be shooting yourself in the foot if you're asking for a higher corporation tax, because it is going to be affecting you, it is going to be affecting your family, it's going to be affecting people who are on benefits. If those benefits do not go up in order to compensate for the corporation tax, I mean, you could, if you reduce corporation tax, if you reduce the minimum wage, you can reduce the price of benefits. You can make it so that the prices will drop, because the people like to compete. Business is a fierce market for competition, and with more business transactions, you're going to be taking all of that money, and the money's going to have more value, and you're going to be taking it out of things like VAT, out of the other taxes which you're imposing on businesses already. So the fact of the matter is, it's a situation. Raising the corporation tax is just a no-win scenario. It just sounds really, really good. So when political leaders come into play and they say, oh, it's a good idea to do this, it's not a good idea. And a lot of the time it's infuriating, because there's a lot of economists, especially economists who have positions like they are professors at universities. These are people who are going to be getting grants from certain political bodies coming into power, which means that they are going to benefit hugely from increases in corporation tax, because it doesn't affect them. They're on a high salary. You know, it doesn't matter whether they have to pay a little bit more, right? They will say what they like in order to get whatever things their departments need in order to basically get more money for themselves. And it's a very, very selfish act. And I think that anybody who's actually interested in listening to someone who's really, really good at corporation tax, I highly recommend going over some of Milton Friedman's old conversations and old lectures, because Milton Friedman is literally an absolute legend when it comes to economics. I also recommend listening to Thomas Sowell. These people are incredibly good, and to be honest, listening to them has helped increase my business, helped my life, and generally made things easier for me. So basically, I mean, looking at trends within the world and seeing how increases in corporation tax has caused corporate inversion, and seen how increases in corporation tax has kept people at a stagnant minimum wage, and then looking at when corporation tax is reduced, and seeing that people are actually able to barter for more money from their employers. Employers are able to keep staff members for a longer amount of time. It's basically a win scenario to reduce corporation tax. So the fact of the matter is, definitely something to think about, definitely something to consider. Anyway, I hope the video's been good. Sorry, I've started to ramble a little bit. I'm very tired right now. I'm on holiday for the first time in a very, very long time. If I've missed anything, or if you've got any questions, please feel free to leave a comment. Always happy to discuss it, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye!